Hello and welcome to Is This Your Card? Today we're going to be looking at Mark of Nature. Mark of Nature is a 3-cost spell that either gives a minion +4 attack or +4 health and taunt. Mark of the Nature is a straight up buff card, but it's not actually that amazing if we're going to be honest here. Mark of Nature's plus health buff also gives the card taunt, so you can't buff up something that's weak and might die unless you want to make it so they have to physically hit it. And you also can't give the attack bonus quite often because, to be honest, giving a giant buff like that to a minion, unless you know you can protect it, is really risky. Mark of Nature really excels when used on a taunt or used on an already fairly high health minion. For example, Druid of the Flame. Druid of the Flame's 2/5 form is perfect for Mark of the Wild because you can either make it into an incredibly resistant 2/9 taunt or an incredibly powerful 6/5 creature, both of which have pretty damn amazing presence. Other than that, Mark of Nature is not necessarily a card you'd automatically go for. It's a good buff, but the problem with a lot of Druid buffs to health is generally that they give that card taunt too. That's the drawback of the buff. Just straight up giving something 4 health is generally pretty broken, unless your name is Velen's Chosen, in which case giving a minion +2/+4 and spell power +1 for 3 mana is considered perfectly reasonable. Mark of the Nature's +4 attack buff, or the +4 health buff, are both useful in different scenarios, but most of the time you're going to see it used in ramp decks when people want to buff the health of their taunts, or you're going to see it in decks where they just need that little bit of time to bide themselves. The chances are, unless it's a real rush deck, you're probably not ever going to see it. It can be nice if you can reliably bait out a silence with it, but other than that, I don't honestly see too much of a practical application for this card. It's not that the cost is bad, it's just it doesn't give as much as it could do for the value of the card. And that's a bit of a hard thing to quantify. For me, it's always going to be Mark of the Wild. I simply prefer the +2/+2 and taunt to the +4 of 1 and sometimes plus taunt. I just prefer a straight up balanced buff across the board that makes my minion reliable and gives it taunt. Though I would personally prefer it if Druids didn't always get buff cards that gave cards taunt. In short, this card is alright, but I can't see it being used too often. Truth be told, I think Mark of Nature is one of those cards that's good in theory, but just bad in practice.